So I realized that it's not Christmas yet. For those of you who don't do Christmas before Thanksgiving, good for you. But the Christmas lights are starting to pop up. The Christmas carols are starting to come on. Christmas music starting to blare, and it's coming. When I was in high school, I went to a church, and one year our youth pastor asked us this question. He said, what would it look like if this year at Christmas we gave more than we received? What if we turned Christmas upside down and made Christmas about what we could give away rather than what we could get? And we got all these different ideas about how we could do that locally and around the world. And something that came up in that conversation was this organization called Compassion International. And Compassion International is it's an organization where you can sponsor kids from around the world who are growing up in poverty, in communities that don't have access to the things that most of us have access to every day. And for an amount of money, every month you can send to this organization. They send it to those kids and those families. And I thought, I'm in high school. I have zero money. But I think this would be a pretty cool thing to say yes to. I mean, I had a job making scooters in an assembly line, and I was a cook and a cashier at a Little League concession stand. It wasn't like I was raking in the big bucks. I had high school jobs that paid basically nothing. But I just fell in love with this idea. I'd been given something, I could give it away to help somebody. And so I got on to their website and I found someone whose birthday was close to mine. That was the way that I found a kid I wanted to sponsor. That's silly maybe. It's maybe not the most responsible way to do that or the most holy way, but I found someone whose birthday was 4 days after mine. His name was Sandy. And Sandy was from Uganda. And he was just 4 or 5 when I started sponsoring him. It's $25 a month. But one of the cool things that came out of that was that over the course of the 15 years after that, we wrote so many letters back and forth. I told him about my family. He told me about his. He told me about growing up in school and what they were learning on the other side of the world. The things that were going great, the crops that his family was growing. And I was telling him about graduating from high school and going to college and moving to Texas and moving to St. Louis. I moved to St. Louis still sponsoring Sandy. He's now grown up. And I'm not sponsoring him anymore because he has a family. All because we decided to turn Christmas upside down because of the gift of generosity and the gift of giving. And sometimes we think we have to give really giant, big gifts, but the truth is that's not how Jesus saw it at all. In Mark 12, there's a story where Jesus is in Jerusalem and he goes to the temple and he's got his disciples with him, and there's a crowd, and they go to where people give an offering at church. Just like we give an offering when there's communion or you can give online. They didn't have online giving in Jesus' day. But Jesus goes to this treasury. And there's a lot of people giving their offerings, but he notices 2 people and he points them out to his disciples. One, there's this group of rich people and they have these big bags of coins and they dump them into the treasury boxes. Now the treasury boxes were metal containers. And in Jesus' time, all of the coins were metal. So if you were dropping off your offering and you had a bunch, it would bang all over this box. And so people would know if you had given a lot of money. It was kind of a status symbol, actually. How big the clanging was how much you'd given. And then there was on the other side of the treasury, there was a widow. The Bible only tells us that she was a poor widow and that she dropped 2 small coins in the treasury box. It's all she had. And Jesus says to his disciples, I want you to notice this widow is the most generous person here. She's given all she had. These people, they give out of their excess and their abundance. It's not hurting them. It's not costing them anything. It's just kind of a routine. But she is giving all that she has. That is what generosity looks like. When I was 16, I didn't have a lot to give, but what I did, I found a way to send to Uganda. And the truth is, I was blessed far more than I gave to hear what was going on in Sandy's life. I don't know what you have. It's probably not a lot because you're in middle school. But just because a gift isn't big doesn't mean it isn't generous.